We'll just go home and we'll start this next week. Gee.
So Z and E and Fast Eddie they're delivering some kind of big bookshelf to our area. Did you know anything about
Yeah, that's Brent.
it? Okay. Well, Mark is
Okay.
handling it. Yeah, he come to me and said, "We're supposed to bring this in here," and I said, "Well, I don't know anything about that." He said,
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Brent. He wants
I
to
am live on the
replace
stream.
the wall shelf, the short wall shelf, and the tall wall shelf, so he can put all of his stuff there.
Oh. Yeah, I'm good to go home if you are.
"Oh well."
And I was out all last week. I was ill, and so I came into the middle, and it's like I have no clue what's happening. Absolutely. It's like if I had been there, I might have known what I was doing, but I doubt it. Wow.
What? Oh,
She's having the same day we are.
wow.
The third one's not working well. Creator Studio. Let's do this one more time. Yeah, I guess if it's not working. But it's working on this end. Probably. That is probably what happened.
Yeah, but I don't. I've heard they're in the annex, but I've never seen one. I've
Okay.
happened to see one. I don't think so.
Oh.
You're welcome. Hey, you can ask Scott for sure. She's still working on
Huh. It keeps doubling. Okay. Yeah, it's like when I paste it, it literally doubles. That's why it's not working. She's gonna think I'm a moron before this is over. No, you're good. You're nice and just being nice. That's really helpful, actually. Exactly. And every time we do this, something happens. The last time, the gentleman who was speaking. Right, there's still bugs. And the gentleman who was speaking had such a soft voice. He only talked like this loud. And the captionist could not hear him, but no one else in the audience could either. So it's like,
fire, fire in
we're all in the same bad boat here.
They're closing the road to Elmont campground.
Right, exactly. And so, of course, then you get that call from that person going, well, it's not working. It's like, well, yes, it is, but just stand close to him at the podium. Okay.
Yeah.
You're
Know
good.
it was said.
Really?
They figured out it was said. So far, well, as of Friday, that it was up to $2 million. And you got into putting it out.
Yeah. Guy needs some work, huh? That's what happens out west, you know. Needs some work, that's right.
Okay. Not on YouTube,
Speculation.
but I see it on. Oh, that's right, the delay. I see it on the real time text thingy.
We're out there smoking.
No. Especially when you're standing here waiting on it. She should be sending stuff, so. I don't know why I said that into the microphone. Okay, good enough. I'm talking to two other people here, so it's like I'm talking to the wrong person all the time. Oh, we're going to have to refresh that page.
I just did. Just moments, seconds ago, I just got back.
Oh. Not on YouTube, no.
Hey, are there cameras in the faculty side dining room? What's her name? Works over there.
Michelle,
Yeah, Michelle.
cameras for Skype or something?
She just wanted John Clark cameras.
When I go to it, it's that.
Pardon me?
When I go to it, it's that.
Well, it was until it reverted for some reason.
It
After I
reverted?
refreshed it.
We have a gremlin who is eating all the text. I said we have a gremlin who's eating all the text. A defunct web page just came up. This should be so simple. Yeah, because like I can see it's there. The option for the caption is there, but it's just no caption. Sure. It is youtube.com/watch. Sorry. This is for the URL to see the video, or do you want the ingestion URL? No, you're good. You're good. I didn't realize he was there. The computer was hiding him. Yes. It is the ingestion or the viewing. Okay. It's youtube.com/watch ?V. Okay, you probably that's what they should be viewed on. Let me get to the actual ingestion code here. Oh, it's okay, wow. Let me try to email this to you one more time. Can you give me that email address, cuz it'll be so much easier that way. Okay. Somehow I must have mistyped it before, so here you go. It should be sent to you now. Um, not yet. You see anything over there?
Nope.
Yes.
Nada.
Okay, on the stream text, I'm seeing you. On YouTube, no.
You got a street?
Okay, I got it. I had a test.
Test. I got it.
We got it.
It won't load on that one.
This is your test standing by. This is your card captionist. Yes.
I got that too.
Okay.
Yes.
Test. Christine Slavinsky. This is your cart standing by. Awesome.
Yeah, it won't load from
Uh-huh.
the ETS website link.
Huh. It's still connected to the wireless?
Got 5 bars.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Great. I'm going to run and do a quick check on some equipment. If you need anything, you can text me on this number. Let me run back and I'll be back right before we start. Bye. Okay.
It's on now. It's good. Good afternoon. We'll get started. Happy first day back after Thanksgiving, right after lunch. Thanks for coming to hang out with us for a little while. Elizabeth and I are really excited to be here and looking forward to meeting all of you guys. We'll just quick introduce ourselves and then we'd love to see who's here with us today. I'm Sarah Williams. I work at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. It's one of the UNC system campuses, one of the larger campuses in the UNC system. We have about 29,000 students, but we're working on a project called College Star with some of our other sister institutions. And so we're excited to come share about that project and maybe pick up some new learning partners here today. Elizabeth, you want to?
Awesome. I'm Elizabeth Coghill, and I'm also at East Carolina University. I'm the director of the Pirate Academic Success Center. As Sarah says, we are the pirates in Greenville, so everything has to have a nautical reference or name. But our center is now going to go into its 10th year, and we're really excited in some of the things that we've been able to do and really capture the vision of universal design for learning in a center. And I guess our goal today between the two of us is just to encourage you along the way, give you some exposure to UDL and what that means on your campus and what you can do to make small changes that can often be very impactful. So we're really excited to get to talk with you today.
So we thought, I'll share with you a little bit about the context about College Star and the approach in general we're taking to this work. And then Elizabeth will go into a good bit of detail about sort of how she has worked in her center to infuse those principles of universal design for learning throughout what they do with students in terms of student support. But at the same time, feel free to stop us, ask questions, interject your ideas or thoughts as well. We look forward to getting to know you a little bit. So would you mind, if you don't mind, sort of who's here? What offices or centers or we'd love to kind of get a sense of who's in the room. Do you mind sort of shouting out the group that you represent? Records office? Counseling? Trio. We had somebody in the morning session from the Trio office. Admissions, all right. Student affairs. Admissions sat over there last time, just so you know. They That's right. Oh, great. Elizabeth will want to talk to you. Anybody else? Great. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we're super honored and excited to be here, and thanks for giving time out of what I know is a busy day in the year to come chat with us a little bit about universal design for learning. I'll try to set the stage a little bit about College Star. College Star is a grant-funded project right now working in North Carolina, but we are hoping to sort of extend much beyond North Carolina soon. And participating campuses in the College Star Initiative are basically working together to try to figure out how we can become more welcoming places for students with all different learning profiles. And we're doing that sort of in a balanced way by trying to find students on our campuses who've been slipping through our cracks, who've been marginalized, and that we can do a better job of supporting and serving to graduation, but at the same time providing support to faculty members and offices and student support areas all across our campus. And those supports are focused on the principles of universal design for learning. And so you can't do that without partnerships. I mean, we always say that College Star is only going to be as strong as the partnerships we develop. And so this involves a lot of work with the public schools, a lot of work with our participating campuses, but community colleges, other colleges, other universities in our area. And so it's been an enjoyable process, a chance to collaborate with one another, especially in a college system sometimes where we compete with one another a little bit. It's been nice to sort of lock arms and play nice together and share ideas and resources and that sort of thing. So just a big sort of picture model of how we frame the College Star project. We have 3 anchor campuses that are working most closely with us. East Carolina University, and that's where Elizabeth and I are, Fayetteville State University, and Appalachian State University. So we sort of span the state a little bit with our universities, and we are 3 very different university settings. And each program has designed a student support strand, as I mentioned earlier, trying to find out how we can better identify students who may need extra support and provide those supports in meaningful ways and in timely ways. But also recognize that those students are in class all across our campuses with thousands of other students, and really none of us learn the same way. So how can we think about universal design for learning as a way that we will, sort of live and think on our campuses and infuse those principles as much as we can throughout our tutoring centers, our classrooms, our libraries, our advising offices. So that's sort of the component B element of it, and that's sort of what we're focused on today. So Elizabeth and I are talking about a small part of a really big project that does have a lot of moving parts. But through this sort of shared learning, we're to the place now that we're really ready to find other partners. So today, we will make several shameless plugs, that if you ever hear us talking about anything that you find interesting, or you might want to experiment some with this in your classroom or your office, please let us know, and we'd love to come in partnership with you and learn together that way, and College Star can support some of that work. So we want to just begin with a quick activity to get you thinking about your educational space. There was a handout as you came in that sort of has a grid. Looks like this. where we'd love for you to take about 3 to 5 minutes. And if you're not sitting with somebody from your office, and there is somebody from routines or practices that you do all the time as you interact with one another or with students. What are materials and resources and technologies that you use on a regular basis to reach students, to reach staff, to reach faculty members, to work with one another? What are some assessments that you use, be it student assessments like tests or be it ways that students apply to your offices or send information to you. Brainstorm a little bit, as much as you can, in those 4 boxes, just for the next 3 to 4 minutes. Right, the people streaming in could see. I do, it's just on. Yeah, it's on a different computer. And I'm sorry, I totally couldn't see that. I didn't even know about it. Well, she said this in that, So does everybody have at least a couple of those boxes filled in? We'll revisit this in a minute, but wanted to get you thinking, basically just sort of envisioning your space, and then keep that in your mind as we kind of go through some of the thought processes that we've been using with College Star, and see if any ideas spark to mind in the process. Before we move any further, though, just a super quick quiz. So how would you guys respond to that question at the top? What do these people have in common? When you look at those pictures or the names of those individuals, what comes to mind as something they all share? Success? What are some other ideas? Fame? Yeah, it's kind of why we picked them. That's true. What else? Nobody's ever said that before. They do. So a lot of times we get success, we get that they're creative, that they're talented. But it is said that all of these individuals have some sort of learning disability or attention deficit disorder, some sort of learning difference in this group. And as you can see, they're incredibly talented and bright and capable individuals, but would say that school was not particularly enjoyable, and that there were barriers in their school experience, and not a place where they felt like they could thrive or that they could show really their best talents. So with that in mind, think about the students who are on our campuses. Just in the area of learning disabilities, for example, students with learning disabilities go to college at about this, or some sort of post-secondary education at about the same rate as their peers without learning disabilities, but they're twice as likely to attend a community college setting than to go to a four-year university setting. And so this is a population of students that has tremendous potential and may be on this campus in pretty high numbers. So just to kind of dig a little bit deeper and think about that a little bit more, we'll do like a quick simulation. We work with a student support program at ECU for students with dyslexia or students with learning disabilities, and some of our students have dyslexia. And one of our students sent a link to this simulation, and he said, this is probably one of the better representations of how it feels for me that I've seen when I try to read. Now, not all students are the same, and this wouldn't be the case for all students with learning disabilities, but he said this is a pretty decent simulation. So take about, just a few seconds and try to read that passage. Any thoughts on that experience? Is it fun? Would you like to read a psychology chapter like this? It's a little frustrating. So imagine, some of those forms or processes or procedures that we use in our offices every day. And think about students for whom the reading experience feels like this as they're going through their processes and what that must be like. But as you're reading this passage, for the past minute, are you any less smart than you were a few minutes ago? Any less motivated than you were a few minutes ago? Do you all of a sudden have a bad attitude? Think about for students when we get papers and they're sloppily written or words are misspelled or stuff isn't filled out right or they totally miss big chunks of information on the directions that we so carefully craft for them. What are the assumptions that we make about them? A lot of those are, the assumptions that we say, that they don't care, that they're unmotivated, and when sometimes maybe there's other stuff going on. And if we can, take down some of those barriers, we may see, what the student really wants to show us. And so that's just one example, maybe for students who have learning disabilities. But of course, there's a lot of learner variability on our campus. Sometimes for students with identified disabilities, there are increasing numbers of students on our campuses with Asperger's syndrome. That we have students who, for whom English is not their first language. We have students with physical challenges. We have students who aren't traditional students, or we have students just with different learning preferences and different learning styles that we can benefit by thinking about students who are sometimes in the margins. And so that's, what we're trying to grapple with College Star. How do we do that? How can we create educational spaces where all of our students can thrive? All of these bright and capable learners, how can we make sure that potential is not wasted? And so, what just happened? Sorry, having a moment. So with College Star, what we've tried to do is use the language of universal design for learning and think about how we can infuse the principles of UDL throughout our college settings. Is UDL like a new term for anybody? Are you really familiar with that? If it's fairly new, let me know. I'm not even getting head nods. So you're pretty familiar with UDL? It's new. Okay, I'm going to go with you because but let me sort of just back up a little bit and unpack UDL some. Basically, let me ask you to back up a little bit. Remember in the 90s when we were trying to make sure that our buildings were accessible for individuals with disabilities, and we were cutting curb cuts in the streets, we were widening stalls in the bathrooms, we were putting Braille on our elevators, we were, just really making some major changes in buildings, and it was kind of messy for a while, pretty expensive and cumbersome to do. But after it happened, it really benefited a lot of individuals. And so during that period, the architects at North Carolina State came up with this sort of set of principles that they called universal design. And the idea was when you're designing a building or a utensil or a resource or a public space, if you will use these principles to think about the widest range of possible users of that building or that space, then do it up front. It won't be as expensive. It'll just be a part of the design, and it'll, save you a lot of money and time later on. What they found, though, when they started implementing those principles was that it benefited everyone. I mean, who's ever been glad there's a curb cut when you're riding a bike or pushing a baby stroller, or who's ever enjoyed a closed caption in a noisy restaurant or something like that? It just really makes it better for everyone. And that's sort of what they found as they implemented the principles of universal design for design. So at CAST, they took the principles of universal design and applied them to educational settings and called that the principles of universal design for learning. And in essence, the idea is the same. In the design of an educational space, no matter what it is, let's think about the widest range of possible learners who might come through our door and design our work with those students in the margins in mind. And what we're finding is that when we do that, it's really better for everybody. And so that's sort of the approach that CAS encourage us to take. They developed a little video, sort of UDL 101 video. We thought we'd share that with you that sort of goes into this a little bit more specifically. Every time I go full screen.
So let's say you're a teacher who needs to reach a curriculum goal, and you've got a diverse group of students. Well, so does this teacher. And this one. Most do. In fact, research shows that the way people learn is as unique as their fingerprints. What does this mean for teachers for today? Classrooms are highly diverse, and curriculum needs to be designed from the start to meet this diversity. Universal Design for Learning is an approach to curriculum that minimizes barriers and maximizes learning for all students. For a better understanding, let's unpack the term Universal Design for Learning. First is the word universal. By universal, we mean curriculum that can be used and understood by everyone. Each learner in the classroom brings his or her own background, strengths, needs, and interests. Curriculum should provide genuine learning opportunities for each and every student. Now let's think of the word learning. Learning is not one thing. Neuroscience tells us that our brains have three broad networks. One for recognition, the what of learning. One for skills and strategies, the how of learning. One for caring and prioritizing, the why of learning. Students need to gain knowledge, skills, and enthusiasm for learning, and a curriculum needs to help them do all three. But every learner is unique, and one size does not fit all. So how do we make a curriculum that challenges and engages diverse learners? This is where the word design comes in. A universally designed building is planned to be flexible and accommodate for all kinds of users with and without disabilities. It turns out that if you design for those in the margins, your building turns out better for everyone. Curb cuts and ramps are used by people in wheelchairs, people with strollers, and people on bikes. Captioning on TV serves people who are deaf, people learning English, people in gyms, and spouses who get to sleep at different times. UDL takes this idea and applies it to the design of flexible curriculum. UDL goes beyond access because we need to build in support and challenge. So how do we use the UDL framework to make learning goals, methods, materials, and assessments that work for everyone? First, ask yourself, what is my goal? What do I want my students to know, do, and care about? Then ask, what barriers in the classroom might interfere with my diverse students' ability to reach these goals? To eliminate the barriers, use these 3 UDL principles to create flexible paths to learning so that each student can progress. Number 1, provide multiple means of representation. Present content and information in multiple media and provide varied supports. Use graphics and animation, highlight the critical features, activate background knowledge, and support vocabulary so students acquire the knowledge being taught. Number 2, provide multiple means for action and expression. Give students plenty of options for expressing what they know and provide models, feedback, and supports for their different levels of proficiency. Number 3, provide multiple means of engagement. What fires up one student won't fire up another. Give students choices to fuel their interest and autonomy. Help them risk mistakes and learn from them. If they love learning, they'll persist through challenges. And remember, always keep in mind the learning goal. Get rid of barriers caused by the curriculum and instead keep the challenge where it belongs. And that's it! Okay, quick recap. Show the information in different ways, allow your students to approach learning tasks and demonstrate what they learn in different ways, and offer options that engage students and keep their interest. Universal design for learning equals learning opportunities for all. For more information about UDL, go to www.cast.org.
So that's just sort of a general overview about UDL. And so what we thought we would do now is share some examples through College Star of how we're
feature of team-based learning that I really like is called the readiness assurance process.
Okay, that's one of our faculty members who we did not mean to put in this presentation. Sorry, guys. So what we thought we would do now is share with you a couple of examples of how we've been infusing UDL into different parts of our campus. And Elizabeth Coghill works with the Pirate Academic Success Center that started really as a tutoring center and now is much, much more than that. And she has really worked to think about UDL in the physical space of the center, the way that tutors are trained, the materials that they use, and that sort of thing. So, turn it over to you.
Good deal. You know, when I first embarked on this, it's about 5 years ago that Sarah, through her grant, sent me to an AHEAD conference, and I went to Seattle and took a pre-conference session on UDL, and really went in thinking, okay, this doesn't really apply to me and what I do on a college campus. This is disability support services problem. I'm just going to have my confessional for a moment. And I didn't see why I was there until I sat there and started just to marinate a little bit on it and realized there is so much I can do on our campus to change an environment and to change a tutoring center to then meet the needs of all kinds of learners. So I went from thinking this is someone else's problem or this is another office, I shouldn't say problem, another office handles this, to then looking at, wait a minute, if I make some of these changes, then all the students who walk through my doors benefit from it. And when you got that hook in me, then I'm like ready to run with it. And I think this morning that hook kind of took hold in a couple of folks to go, wow, if I look at this just a little bit differently, this is my part of my job. And this is something that I can explore. And every time we're in a position where we can reach out to a few more students, it's a good thing. So we took the center and we were looking at ways that we were representing our information in the ways that we were doing business. And we were most definitely at the beginning stages of this, the tutoring center with the whiteboards. And the whiteboard or a piece of paper at a table was the way we were going to roll. And that's the way our tutors were doing a good job, but that's what we did. And that was all that we did in terms of our focus. And as we learn a little bit more about UDL, what it didn't do was allow our students to collaborate in a way that we really want them to, allow for our students to be able to be engaged in the process a little bit more. And it's taken some work and some creativity, but it absolutely has been fruitful. This is kind of a quick view of our space. You can kind of see in the back we've got monitors throughout. The other thing, if you look at that space, what do you note right away? accessibility, wide open, lots of tables, no shame in the game of tutoring at East Carolina. We're not going behind closed doors to tutor. We're out in the open. It's noisy. It gets festive in the afternoons when no tables are left. It's collaborative. Students and tutors have options on what they want to use. You can see some of the whiteboards and things like that that they can connect to. They can sit and get the laptops and those assignments out. They can use whiteboards. We're putting lots of tools in their hands so that as the student comes in, the learners come in, we change up the environment for them a little bit on how it's being approached in other places on campus. I think I want to take just a second to show you and give you a little bit more of a visual of the space. And this is a good one because it'll just kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about.
I never really wanted to be tutored. Before coming to the center, probably had a little bit of a negative opinion of tutoring.
I felt like I was smart enough to do it on my own. I wasn't going to tutoring because I didn't think that I needed it.
I did very well in high school. I didn't need any extra help.
It's pretty nerve-wracking. Sit down with somebody and then they kind of see into you and then they kind of feel nervous or a little shy, almost like embarrassed.
We understand what it's like to be on that side of the table.
Tutors here are really nice. There's no shame in coming.
Just their smiles and their overall enthusiasm, I knew it was like the right place for me.
Pretty much all of the tutors have been tutored before.
I was struggling with chemistry.
I was struggling in biology.
I was struggling in math 1066.
I was in a bad place in my first physics class. Really wish I'd have gone earlier.
I thought I knew everything, but that wasn't the case when I came to college.
They say whenever you come to college and you're at a university, you're just a number, but you're not a number, you're a person.
Just coming in every day and being able to talk to somebody really helped out in boosting my confidence levels.
Whenever I came to the tutoring sessions, I saw that the way that tutors explain things to their tutees is very different.
If I had started on my own, I'd be completely lost.
It's always useful to go through the concepts with a peer, somebody who understands it on the same level as you instead of somebody who might have a doctorate.
Good students come to the tutoring center. If anything, they're trying harder, and those are typically the students that succeed.
We've got some really awesome resources here at the Pirate Academic Success Center.
We have a large library of knowledge of test material.
We offer tutoring for all the major subjects here, and also we have mentorship to help rising students struggling coming in.
I needed the extra person to help give me the confidence that I have now.
We've got the smart whiteboards where you can take step-by-step pictures of problems that you're working through.
A lot of technology. The technology that I like to use a lot is OneNote.
My favorite would have to be OneNote. I'm currently using it now for one of my tutees. We're creating a comprehensive study guide.
We have like 2 or 3 here that can help you with just study skills.
It's taught me planning, time organization.
When I'm here every day, I don't really feel like it's work. It's more like an opportunity to enjoy myself.
I feel like every student deserves that.
Whenever I started tutoring, I started really enjoying seeing people benefit from what I had to say.
And that's definitely one of the coolest moments, is when you help someone else succeed.
If you're unsure,
I'm learning every single day I come here.
Okay, that gets me every time because I love these kids. And so proud of all, I'm having the same problem. I'm so proud of all that they do every day and how they work so hard. And one of the, it's going to go off on me, isn't it? We did not have this problem earlier. I don't want it to go again.
I never really want.
So one of my lessons about UDL is that the tools don't go in my hands, they go in my tutor's hands. And that as we take a journey that my job is to try to get a PowerPoint to stay up, but my job is to really look at what they do, give them tools and identify tools and put them in their hands. They joke at the center about my technical abilities, which I just proved. Are so vast and wonderful. And one of the things that I'm able to say to other directors and other folks in academic support settings and all of you is it doesn't, UDL, and as I talk a little bit about technology, is not your knowledge. It doesn't have to be your knowledge. And it's the identification and creativity and getting the right people at the table. And for my experiences, it's been handing tools to tutors who are so much more savvy, obviously, and are so bright and are able to do things with technology. And once they understand what the goal is and what we're trying to do amazing things every day, that it excites me to be able to walk the floor and see it happening. And we really look at how are we able to make a goal that UDL and bringing that design into this space, what does that change for them? And when we do training with them, we are a College Reading and Learning Association certified program level 1 through 3. And what that means is we spend a lot of time in a certified process of training our tutors and our mentors. This is a cartoon I love to show my tutors during some UDL training, because we talk about assessment, or when you're in the classroom. I'm a person who loves an essay exam. Someone next to me might love that multiple choice exam. It's such a better experience for them. We all learn at different rates and in different ways. And so I love this because it's really capturing, sometimes we're in a class and it's not that we don't completely understand the concepts, it's that the playing field isn't quite as equalized. And my big catch in this, or the gotcha moment, was when I look at, I really want to be about the place that changes the playing field a little bit and allows students to interact with the information that my center is putting out in lots of different ways and make it a positive experience for each of them. Just like when you saw the video, and similarly to the sheet that we've given you to kind of think this process out, we started out first with how can we creatively use technology tools within our center to be able to meet the UDL goal, to be able to change the environment and give tools to our tutors who are providing the service, and be able, just like a staff member in your center, what tools could we use? For us, a big answer came through technology. Technology is not the only answer. It just fit us very well. But that goal of changing processes to make it more accessible to students, just like the building's more accessible. And for us, we began to look at technology. We went to our technology group, or our academic technologies group on campus, and they had never really had conversations with us. And it was always directed towards faculty members. What did a faculty member need in their classroom? If they were going to do something online, what were their needs? So I approached them and asked them to look at the center as though I was a faculty member. And let's talk about what our goals are and what our needs are. And in those beginning conversations, we began to be able to tap into resources on our campus we had anyway, but that had never been applied to our business, our center, and really hadn't been applied to student support at all on our campus. And that's where we started to identify different kinds of tools. Certainly have had to do some training along the way in implementing those ideas. So bottom line is, I wanted to be able to create a center that had a toolbox of options for our tutors, so that they could make some decisions, and when they work with the tutees that come in, that they could start to talk about what kind of learner they were. So this is not just students with learning differences that may be challenged in many other ways. This can be as simple as, I'm a kinesthetic learner, and if I can make a model and work with an iPad, then I'm going to clue in on this information in a way I can't in lecture. Or it's, I'm an auditory learner, and every time I spend all my day writing notes, I'm really not listening. And so I get to put the pen down. Those are the tools we were looking at to develop for our students. We want to look at, what are the barriers? We're asking you that question too. What are the barriers within your office? For us, one of our greatest barriers was lecture. And so when we were a whiteboard only kind of tutoring center, so often, or too often, we were actually repeating this experience. So sit there, listen to me. I'm the tutor. I might be your same age, but I'm all-knowing now. And I'm going to stand with at the whiteboard, and I'm going to just, kind of spread my knowledge to you. And I wasn't collaborating like I needed to. And it was a one-size-fits-all tutoring center. This is the way we're going to show you information. And in looking at that barrier and that connection, it gave us a real opportunity then to be creative and look at components that are shared on the back sheet of that form that or that handout that you received. Just looking at what are the different ways. So if we think of UDL and different kind of categories of information, how are we eliciting a response from our students? Were we really engaging them in deep conversations in a UDL journey within our center? And how do we give choices to the tutors, but the tutees as well? And so in the last 5 years, we've really have expanded to include a lot of different resources. And some have been, the majority of them are free resources on a college campus that we can tap into. And some, as Sarah mentioned, have, by keeping data and by seeing these experiences, we've been able to make a case for new things to come our way. And we were also very, very fortunate that while we got onto the UDL, we were about 2 years into using more technology, we were afforded the opportunity to build a new space. And that space was built around collaborative learning and universal design. And so that allowed us to really delve into using some of these sources and these tools. Two things I would really want to spend a moment on for you. One is just going to be, we started with iPads. That was our first easy way into the UDL world, and how do we change things up? iPads and a portable monitor. And those started to allow our tutors to use things like Byboard. If you've ever heard of Byboard, it's collaborative setting where everybody can use an iPad and connect into the same monitor board and get them to do quizzes or like games, and make information into games and pull things from online, things that we couldn't do just with a whiteboard. But we've expanded so far beyond that to look at OneNote tablets. I love these things. They're amazing. OneNote is basically, I'm using a tablet. It makes a portable whiteboard or virtual whiteboard. They're connecting it to monitors that you saw throughout the space. They're able to write, but at the end of a session, they can PDF their notes that the tutor just took during that session and email it to the students. What that allows the students to do is, if you need to listen and engage in the material, you can. You do not have to spend your whole time writing. A barrier that we noticed with lecture is they're so often, especially our freshmen, so often focused on writing the notes that they weren't listening, they weren't engaging in the topic, they weren't connecting in the topic, but they wrote every word the faculty member said down. And our goal to not be a repeat of that. OneNote has been something that we've been able to really get a lot of mileage out of and really help the students. So this is an example. They can pull images from their e-textbooks, things that are out online. Sometimes it's as simple as pulling up a periodic table in chemistry and writing all over that. So they're able to do that. Quizzes and tests or homework assignments, or they never do a homework assignment for a student, but things like that that might come from textbook sources, they're able to bring into OneNote and use during their sessions. Another really standout project was we were noticing that we were having some difficulty with some of our top STEM courses on our campus, just sheerly keeping up with the demand of students coming through the door and needing support for it. We host test reviews and workshops for those courses where our tutors may be talking to a room of 200 students and going over materials. But what we found with that, and you think that doesn't work for everybody, we record those sessions using a thing called Integrity Lecture Capture. It was something that our professors were using on our campus. They get embedded in Blackboard and students can watch those videos. And they can, if they're not able to go to a session, they still have access to that session. That has really changed a lot of what we do with our students so that they're able to watch those videos over and over if that's what it takes. So we were inspired by Khan Academy, if you know about that, and we thought, well, let's use our own students to create these. And that's been something that we've really been very pleased with and see a lot of student usage with. How do we know we're hitting the right mark? We start talking to students. We've done assessments and surveys with our tutors. We've done focus groups with our tutors on the use of some of these different tools. Some of my tutors love it, every once in a while I get a holdout that I have to, that we train and we encourage strongly to use a technology piece. Just like us, sometimes we can get really nervous about using a new technology tool, especially if I'm presenting in front of a group of people. That can make me really nervous. Our students are just the same. Once we get them in a safe environment using those tools, it's amazing what they produce with them and use. So they're still allowed to make choices. It may be most appropriate if I'm sitting with a student to go with paper and pen with that student, or a small whiteboard at the table. If I'm working with a group of students, because we are a large campus, we often will have 3 students in a tutoring appointment together. Then that monitor, and using a OneNote tablet connected to that monitor, really makes a difference in that approach. And it allows all the students, kind of, you can see on that other, all to kind of connect and look at each other. The connection between peers changes when that tutor stands up at a whiteboard. So it's really made a big difference. We evaluate and train our tutors, and we watch for their use of UDL. We start that with educating them from the get-go of what UDL is and how we envision it within the center. Many of my students thought I was just force-feeding technology at them. And every year I have to get back to the basics of what the vision is, why are we doing this, and it's fun to watch them get it and get to see how it changes what they do. And then they're the greatest ambassadors of UDL on our campus. We look at, so we're observing and getting feedback from our tutees as well. Many of them will come with notebooks from the semester of all those sessions that they've held with tutors that have been sent to them by PDF, and that they're able to use that. So great feedback comes from our students on it. So we're really proud of what we're doing. I think my biggest encouragement, and I always forget that's my last slide, but all our students as we can. And it can start with a very small project. For us, it was iPads, putting iPads into the hands of tutors and seeing and start to explore what that did and how does that change. And then talking with academic technology folks, the experts on our campus, and to build that. For you, it might be, we don't have anything digitally for students. We put forms out online, but we don't have a video that explains that form. It could be as simple as a project like that, that then begins to start helping our students access the information we're trying to share better. So thank you so much, and I enjoyed being able to show what we've done with the Pirate Academic Success Center.
So that's a really good point, sort of this one step at a time approach. You know, Elizabeth has been doing this for several years, and I think, you know, whenever I go over to the center, one of the things that impresses me the most is then the moment you walk in, you realize you matter, and you're in this really welcoming place that encourages students to sit down and learn together. That sort of big message that you receive as soon as you walk in, but it's you know, she's just, you know, it's not hard to tell students are important to her, right? So this big vision is really growing and growing, but kind of starts with one step at a time. And a lot of the people who are connected with the College Star Project are doing just that, you know, just right at the beginning. And I will describe for you sort of, we wanted you to have sort of a really in-depth look at one example of a student center on one of our campuses. I'll give you a more high-level look at sort of how Fayetteville State is sort of tackling this project. One of the things that they've started is what they're calling their Champions Project. And that started as really a student recruitment tool in a sense. With you remember each of the campuses that's participating in College Star has a student support model in place. And so they wanted to find students who needed their help. And so they thought, okay, let's go to as many different offices, as many different places on campus as we can, and find a champion in each of those offices. So the registrar's office, the advising center, the admissions office, the library, as many different places as they could. They connected with one individual and said, would you be our champion for that office? And what that means is we'll provide some training for you about learning differences and about the students for whom, you know, we feel like we'd like to, you know, be there for on our campus. and you could be talent scouts for us. So as you see students who come into your office with these characteristics, please point them our way, and we'd love to get to know them. We'd love to connect with them. That's how it started. And what happened was each of the champions in the different offices became interested in learning more about universal design for learning. And so what they were saying is, well, so how can we make our offices more welcoming places for those students? And they came together as a community of practice, did a little bit of training, but mostly just did sort of these self-assessments of their own spaces based on the principles of universal design for learning. And they thought, all right, let's do one thing in our office. Let's try one step at a time and think about how can we represent information in multiple ways so students can access it in the way that they learn best. How can we let students interact with one another and with us in multiple ways so that we can be more engaged with the students on campus? Or how can we let students show us what they've learned or communicate the information we need from them in multiple ways? And so they began this process of exploring on their campus, and that's been a really nice way that has been spreading across that campus. And we are launching a champions group at ECU based on their model this spring. And I told you about the shameless plugs. Really, if any of this is interesting to any of you in the room, we'd love to hear from you. There are some business cards on the back table with our contact information if you'd like to reach out to us and say, hey, I'm from the registrar's office. If you have any more people from registrar's offices on your campus, we'd love to kind of join in that shared learning and share ideas and resources. We would love to hear from you and partner with you and extend this conversation beyond today if we can. One of the things Elizabeth talked a lot about was technology and the way that she integrated technology into the work of the center. That was sort of her first step. That with our Champions project has been the case too. A lot of individuals in libraries on the Fayetteville State campus are developing video tutorials, or in the student support offices, asking students to create videos for recruitment so that we can communicate information more accurately. That's one of the things we learned, even in the student support programs, where we do think this is very much should be our focus, this should be our business. I work in a support program for students with learning disabilities. We think about learner variability all the time, yet when we turn sort of a look on ourselves and how we do things and how we engage with students, sometimes those principles of UDL weren't that apparent in the way we did business every day. In our student support offices, in our disability support services offices even, when we ask students, how are we doing? Sometimes they give really phenomenal insights about ways that we can improve. This example, though, is one of the faculty members at the Appalachian State University campus, and we thought we would bring it to you as an example of her first step, because it's a first step that didn't cost her a lot of time. It didn't take a lot of money and resources, but it's something that she did, that she put a little time in up front to move the needle on her ability to provide really timely and high quality feedback to students on their work, and sometimes that's hard to do, the whole timely and high quality part, doing both of those is tough when you've got large classes of students. So we thought we'd share with you how she tackled that project as she thought about universal design for learning. Well, this is Lindsay Maslin from Appalachian.
The last thing I'll say that I do related to feedback is I use a tiered feedback system. So for every assignment that they do, every single person in my class, and I have 100 of them at a time, they get rubric feedback, which is just built into our learning management system. We use Moodle. So I use their rubric feature. So I can go through and just click, and that gets them some quantitative feedback. I also have areas where I can type in, a little short qualitative feedback, and I have a nice reference document of common problems. So it's not really that time intensive for me to cut and paste. So everybody gets that, and that's called level 1 feedback. After they get that feedback, they know that if they don't know how to get better, given the quantitative and the qualitative level 1 feedback, all they have to do to me is say, hey, Dr. Maslin, I want level 2, and that's available for all assignments. What level 2 is I open up their assignment, whatever it is, in like Word, and I annotate it using the comment feature. So I go line by line. This did get you points here, this didn't get you points here, I would change this next time, to give them that really detailed feedback. The benefit of doing that is because honestly, I'd rather always give that much detailed feedback for every student, but I have 100 of them. It's not possible. So what this does is it matches my level of effort to the students who actually want that feedback and who have said, yes, I want it, I will use it. That's level 2. And then level 3 is after you get level 2, you still don't know, then we come into the office, we sit down, we make a plan. How are we going to do this different next time? And so I'll say, 100% of my students get level 1, about 20 request level 2 each time, 20%, and maybe 1 or 2 request level 3. So I found that to be a really good way to match my effort to their need. And they feel that sense of agency and that they're getting to choose what their feedback looks like. And they talk about that in my evaluations as something that's beneficial to them.
So that's just another example of sort of that in action, but in the classroom setting. So what we thought we'd do is take a minute now to pause again and ask you to go back to the graphic that we started with. We tried to sort of share some different examples with you, but we'd love to give you some time to sort of come full circle and think about the processes, the materials, the routines, the goals of your centers and offices and classrooms, and think, is there something that we can do as we think about the principles of universal design for learning to make our place, our educational setting, a more welcoming place for all students who come in our doors? Take about 5 minutes and think, what will your next steps be? What would you like to get started with? What resources or support would you need? And kind of talk that through together a little bit, and we'd love to hear what you come up with. Just take about five minutes or so to think about that. Closing. Okay, so maybe finish the thought that you're on, and we'll kind of come back together. I'd love to hear some of what you're thinking. Any ideas that you might want to try that you've talked about today? Anyone? Anyone?
With working in TRIO student support service, I always considered educational IT to be there to help
Yeah.
the teachers.
Yeah.
But I'm going to talk with them more about seeing what they can do to help the tutors in our office and us so that we can assist the students.
I love that. And it may give them a chance to hear from a different perspective on campus as well. They may like it just as much. That's a really good point. You know, a lot of times we have resources right there on our campus that we can use in a different way. I work with I can't tell me if I already said this or if it was this morning, but I work with a student support program for students with learning disabilities. Did I say this time? Okay, and we asked our students to give us some feedback on our website, you know, and talk about how we could think about UDL and the way that we're presenting information about our program. And they were so sweet when they said it. Like, they didn't use these words, but basically what they said was, well, 80% of us have dyslexia, so what's up with all the text on the website? You know, can you add a video? That would be a lot more effective. Or could you represent the information that you share in different ways, in a way that really represents the program better? Or could somebody be in a video telling, just like real people really talk about, you know, the program and what you do and what you don't do, and hey, maybe have some students up there, you know, talking so they could really get a feel for the place and a feel for the program and that sort of thing. Very practical examples, and something we could switch, you know, with a flip camera or you know, or even a cell phone. Just really inexpensive but practical ideas, just from looking at it a little differently and seeing what we already have on campus. Any other ideas?
Base level, this just needs to be in the conversation as we design. I manage a building that has about 20,000+ square feet of empty shell right now that'll eventually be our large new library.
Yes.
This just needs to be at the table from the start. I don't know what else to say other than just this needs to be at the start. And
Yeah. Yeah. And have student voices, you know, in that conversation, you know, and watching in the libraries or whatever that space is going to be, how they learn. In our library not long ago, they went to putting wheels on all the furniture so that students could move it from night to night, however they needed it, you know, to study and move away from the sort of bolted down furniture. And that's kind of what Elizabeth described too. Yeah, that's a really good point, thinking about it from the very beginning. Any other thoughts? Well, I'll sort of, you know, wrap up by saying, you know, I think one of the things that we talk a lot about is that, you know, thinking about universal design for learning, it's not like something like, I guess you don't do UDL, you know, or something like that, but it's just a way of thinking, you know, and a sensitivity or a perspective in a lot of ways. So in that sense, we don't, I guess, ever feel like we will arrive, you know, but that as we try one more thing, we become aware of something else we need to do. Or we do something with really good intentions that causes another problem. We need to think about that. So this is sort of this constant process or way of thinking, and that's okay too. But that we're just constantly trying to hear from our students and to think about how we can be a little more versatile as our learners come into our campuses more and more diverse. So I would love it if any of you are interested in connecting with the project. Some, you know, really easy ways to do. You could follow us on Twitter. We try to frequently tweet new instructional ideas, or whenever we post new online modules that we've developed, you know, we'll tweet information about it or student stories or things like that. Collegestar.org is our website, and it does have some decent resources on it. We're building a series of faculty online modules that sort of depict UDL in the classroom in different disciplines and in different ways. As best as we can find examples, we try to post a new one of those each month. Some of our students have joined us in this mission, and so they've started a student blog, they started a student podcast last year, completely student designed, driven, run. So as you can imagine, we're just hanging on for dear life with that one. But, there's some pretty cool, their audience is other college students with learning differences. So good information on those. We've developed, for those of you in student support offices, we've developed a transition curriculum that is designed for high school classrooms, or there's a parallel version that can be used by families to start for students with learning differences to start thinking about the college environment and getting ready for learning in the college environment. So that's available as, just the materials can be downloaded and used and changed and, used freely however you'd like. I've got a flyer for those up here if you're interested. So we'd love to stay connected with you if you're interested. And is there any questions? We were asked to kind of stop a little early today because it sounds like there's an event on campus this afternoon. But Elizabeth and I are going to be around till about 2:30, so if anybody wants to chat further, we're going to hang around. But otherwise, just really thank you for your time, and I hope you guys have a great holiday season and wrap up your semester well.